Hi, today we are in Berlin with Mbrace. Jan, who
Hi.
are you and what do you do?
Hey, welcome. My name is Jan. I'm co-founder of Mbrace, responsible for marketing and growth. Company kicked off last year in summer. We're building social discovery apps, and I have a team of 16 people now, and looking forward to expand this year.
What did you do before you started this company?
Before I joined Mbrace as a co-founder, I worked for Hitfox for 2 years. It's a local incubator where I also met my co-founders Ruben and Lucas. Hitfox basically initially was a Groupon for games model, and then evolved into a gaming-focused incubator for edtech companies. Where Ruben and Lucas worked in one portfolio company for browser games, and I was responsible for mobile. Just before I came back to Berlin, I lived in San Francisco for about a year to build an office for Applift, which is their portfolio company.
What did you learn in the Silicon Valley, and what are the major differences between Berlin's entrepreneurs and the startup ecosystem and the Silicon Valley startup system?
Silicon Valley in itself, first of all, was an amazing experience. You meet a vast amount of inspiring and really passionate people. I think the biggest distinction that I found is that people are more experienced in setting up companies, like from very junior, beginning of their 20s to older people. They all have been through several iterations of setting up a company, either failing it after a year or exiting to some of the big players. So people are much more experienced. They've learned more lessons. They know how to take struggles, know how to take pitfalls and downfalls, and are just more laid back when setting up companies. Is one of their tasks. In general, Silicon Valley and San Francisco in particular is an amazing place to go and spend time as, I think, for every founder. The amount of passion you take, the amount of speed you get, the amount of execution knowledge you get, particularly in the locally strong industries for mobile, edtech, fintech, software as a service, mobile payment. This is fascinating. It's just always fun if you walk down the street and basically look at the door signs and know basically every single company that you read about on TechCrunch or VentureBeat before. So it's just a very high density. Even if you go to a bar and talk to anybody, it's 80% chance he or she will work at Facebook, Google, or will just be setting up their own company. So it's you feel like everybody there is just craving for finding the next big idea and setting up a company.
So it was also easy to get in touch with the people and...
Very easy. I found it also much easier than it's here in Berlin. People are just more interested in general and are much more open to network. I think part of the underlying reason that they're not afraid to share ideas or to share secrets and help each other out. They just know what idea isn't really worth anything, or if tell how we did it to grow the company isn't really worth anything. Where the Germans or here in Berlin, people are a bit more enclosed and a bit more shy to tell everything they know and basically help each other out. I think, and that's probably one of the things that will come also when Berlin goes through more iterations of companies. And the network to talk to relevant people in San Francisco is much more dense. So there are thousands of angels, hundreds of VCs. So there would be 500 people relevant for you if you're in a very niche market, as is, let's say, just software as a service for whatever gaming companies, right? Probably doesn't exist, but for that you would already have 50 angels who do nothing else but this, and probably 2 VCs who do nothing else but this. So it's very dense, very interesting.
Okay. Let's talk about the business model of Mbrace. How does it work, and did you already change it? And what are the future plans in terms of iteration?
Yeah, so the initial idea to start Mbrace last year was really to build an innovative, very unique social discovery application, so that to match how it's happening in real life, to build a better way, software-supported way to meet new, interesting people. But that turned out to be very complex to start off with, so we decided to kick off with a dating-focused product, Mbrace 1.0. So we had the first basically concepts ready in June, July last year. Founded the company in August, had the beta version live in October to show, okay, this is proof of concept. The concept we have is working. So very simple products, just HTML5 based, working across all platforms. With that proof of concept, we were able to raise a 7-digit round in December. With 3 local VCs, and then get the native apps live around February, March, and then scaled into 6 countries. And now with all these learnings we make, to understand, okay, how does the users flow, how do we perceive the app, what's the steps we take to find a product market fit, the critical challenges in growing an app, going from traction to growth, so the different stages, we now believe that we are ready to take the next steps. So the initial idea that we had to really build like a mobile support, mobile helper on your phone that really connects you with the relevant people around you to get a benefit out of it.
And how's the current matching process working of people with several interests, and what maybe does change in the future?
So as of now, since it's tended towards dating, it's made it as simple as possible. To break the ice between two people. So there are several factors going into the algorithm, which is location, age, common interests, common friends, common events you went to, etc., etc. And then you have the mutual interests. So if I show interest in you and you show interest in me, then we have a match and we can start chatting in the app. We introduced a second icebreaker, which is a challenge. Basically, that the girl or guy can post me, so like, hey, if you want to talk to me, tell me secrets, make me laugh, tell me a joke in a different language, what would you cook for me on our first meeting, tell me about the most experienced travel or trip you did. So it's a bit more, so hey, it's not like just spray and pray, I just like every girl I can see around me, but really if I'm interested, I do a bit more effort. And it's first it serves as an icebreaker, and second it already tells you a bit more about the other person, so what type of answer she is. So it was very successful, with the feature, especially for the challenge, was really well perceived, since it adds a more personal level to the new interaction of somebody new. And this is also learning we will now take to the new social discovery app. So we think a lot about the question, okay, what is the core common interest, the core denominator, or the core context that would make sense to connect these two people. There are some apps, of course, a lot of apps do social discovery. Most social discovery apps are dating apps because it sells better, so you have to be careful. But if you look at an app for Highlight, for example, right, which is a bit similar to our vision and mission. They would just show, okay, hey, is Jan working downstairs, he's working in startup, I think you should meet, which is nice. It's better than know nothing about him, but I believe that doesn't really still have enough context for me to really go down and meet somebody. So we try to make it to the next step and really establish this common excuses, common denominator that really makes sense for both parties involved to meet each other.
How do you feed in the data? Is it the user that is entering all the data, I was there, or how do you connect all these data sources for getting a common data set?
Yeah, there are several sources. Of course, we have to rely on what the user wants to give us. At the moment, we still stick also with a Facebook login, since it's very convenient for the user and it gives us a good basic data set to know basically who you are and what you like. And then the context is then basically enriched with location data and data that we have from several sources. So the events you went to, we use for APIs. We build our own iBeacon infrastructure that we know basically who is currently where. So we just try to add several sources that would enrich the user experience for you.
So is it true that you currently mainly rely on the Facebook data for creating your algorithm?
Yes, we do it on purpose because it makes sense for the dating focus app. Just to avoid spam. I mean, most dating-centered social discovery apps have a lot of spam profiles, partly on purpose because they need content. But we decided that the quality of the user base and the authenticity of the user base is critical to the long-term success. And Facebook is the easiest way to do that. So when we introduced it, just by clicking on Facebook, first it's convenient for the user, but for us we can check, okay, how many friends does he or she have, is it a real user, does she really exist, etc., etc.
And when you go from the dating or app to a more social discovery app, what is the current model, revenue model, and how might it change?
Since we came from mobile games, so we basically have been marketing mobile games, the most competitive app category for 2 years. So we basically know all sorts of different ways to monetize the app. We specifically took on the VC money so that we have enough time to build traction and growth first, and then introduce the monetization model later on. In general, we have all sorts of options available. One of the most common ones would be freemium, so for really power users or for involving external parties, you can have all the functions for free, but if you want to have an even better, more extreme, more frequent experience, you should pay for small features. And we can involve external parties, event organizers or companies that might be interested to cooperate with us. There are several successful tests we did to monetize. Advertising is the least priority at the moment. I think we think it's basically sports the user experience. The currently is not a truly native ad format yet that we produce in the app, but shifted, or we placed the focus on monetization, starting to monetize basically after we got the first traction for the new product, so towards the end of this year. And we will test, and in the end we A/B test everything. We A/B test the products, the designs, the features, the communications, and we will also A/B test the monetization to see which way is perceived best by the user. We believe that's the only way to really go bottom up and understand what does the user accept, and then we optimize it for us to make enough to cover our costs. But it's not how it used to be a year ago, where you can just basically force them to pay or like show ads in the app. If it doesn't want it, then they'll go. There's too much competition.
Yeah, you are the Chief Marketing Officer here at Mbrace. Can you tell us a little bit more about how you acquire customers, especially as you're currently only focused on 6 countries?
So one of the critical disciplines we have to master is to overcome the cold start, which is the chicken and egg problem. We need enough users to get enough users, or to have a very unique user experience in the app. So we have to overcome the network effects. Partly we do that by a variety of channels. We can basically switch on and off and scale depending on the usage we have. So we do a lot of performance-based advertising, where we basically agree on a fixed CPI, and we'll either use Facebook, Twitter, or any affiliate networks or any media buyers to give us traffic of a certain category in a certain location. It's basically on and off switch to scale. In the long term, we have built significant traction here in-house through social media, digital content marketing. So really getting in front of the user base, from potential user base, and to convince them that we have a cool product, and communicate the added value we have through the app, through the content marketing we do. The third is very local event marketing as well. So especially when we launch hub by hub, Berlin, Munich, Hamburg, Singapore, Amsterdam, etc., etc. We host events that we partner with local companies. For example, in Germany it's Red Bull, where we really stage events in the target audience to try to basically get a lot of sign-ups in a short amount of time. And whenever we see traction, basically, then we switch on the performance marketing as well to support the traction and make sure that we have enough installs, enough sign-ups for a certain period of time until we hit a percentage-wise benchmark. Say 25-22% of the target audience is in the app, and then from there normally the app grows organically. Okay. So it's a step-by-step process, and we have basically a mix of 6 to 7 channels, and we basically always play a bit chess to see what's working, and then we switch on and off what's necessary.
Okay, in the current version of Mbrace, you use this kind of virality effect because it's only invite only. What have been your major learnings about how to increase the virality?
Well, increasing virality is critical, I think, for any mobile app. So we just have to find features that basically triggers the user to really wanting to invite friends. So the app in itself has to add more value whenever you have friends or people in the app that you know. So it's critical for the so-called K factor. That's how you measure virality. One of the first steps we did that to get the initial traction was the exclusiveness, or the invite only. But that was also part that we wanted to have a super high quality user base, so that the user can decide, hey, this makes sense, I would like to meet this person, yes or no, which is especially important if you have so many sign-ups that you can't monitor it over the day. There will always be, if you involve external parties to do acquisition for you, there will always be a lot of spam, a lot of bots, a lot of not so good users that will just basically destroy the user experience. So the exclusiveness or the invite only was a mix of, hey, I can invite my friends, and it's also the strongest filter to keep high user quality. So
would you recommend everybody who starts a community to start with this approach?
No, I think it can be said that way. It's one interesting tool that you can use, but it's also one of many tools. It just has to make sense for the use case. For us, we tested it and it made sense. It worked great. We got good organic growth for it. But for other communities, it wouldn't make sense at all. It depends a bit. Depends a bit also what's your strongest denominator in the community. If it's a community is based on general content, then it wouldn't make sense to basically limit the exclusiveness of the users. Then it would make more sense to limit maybe who can post or who can contribute content. A bit what Medium did, for example, in the first month. Everybody could read and join Medium, but only a handful of people could post. Product Hunt in itself. So Product Hunt is a community, everybody can join. As long as you can't do damage, it doesn't really make sense to limit who can join. So right now they have like 50, 60 people who post product ideas, and soon they will probably open it up to more categories. But in our case, in the social discovery apps, it's focused around people. The people are, of course, also the content. So what you see in the app is the actual people. So there was a part that we had to keep very, very high quality, and therefore it made sense for us to introduce this exclusive only.
Understood. In terms of corporate strategy, there are a lot of competitors like Lobo or Tinder. How do you plan to be unique in this kind of market?
Uniqueness, I think, derives from added value. Tinder and Lobo we don't see as competitors. They're like strong in their market niche for dating and for hookups, which we believe is one interesting segment of the market to meet new people, but we believe there's much more. Even if you only look at the dating value chain, there are some people who are happy to use dating apps. There are like 80% of all singles who don't want dating apps, and they're like still most of the people who already have a partner and still would like to meet people. And these hookup apps or dating apps only cover the tip of the iceberg. We always see it lots with a comparison to real life. I mean, how many people would go to a single party, right? I mean, people go to a party, of course, to meet new people, but they would never, most people I know who probably wouldn't go to Farah to fish a single party, right? Yeah. And we believe that 100% focused dating apps more represents these single parties in real life, and we want to go for the segment that really the way you meet and interact with new people in your real life, out of context, out of added value, through social recommendation or through your social friendship. That can also be done better or quicker, with more fun through an app.
As you're currently mostly, let's say, dependent on Facebook data, how do you plan to diversify these data sources so you don't risk your business model?
It's a step-by-step approach. At the beginning, the risk, or the annoyance of Facebook is also very German-centric, and all other countries we didn't really have any issue at all. People were asking for us to implement the Facebook login. So the dependence of the Facebook data is more the first step to get the quick traction, and afterwards we'll have own data sources and also think about own ways to aggregate the data, of course. But to build that already from the very beginning now would just add more complexity and would make us slower to get the traction.
Okay, understood. So you would plan more to build your own data sources, not adding other data sources?
Yeah, I think in the end you have to, at least as a stock, and then depending on what the user wants and the user preferences, you can feed in more data sources. Right now we see a lot of requests from people who like to integrate Instagram or like Twitter or any other basically social networks that will tell something about them that's interesting or important for them. That will just be added step by step. Okay. So in the end, we would always try to be as close as possible to our users. So we set a certain concept that has to be done for the concept to work. But then whatever we add or take out or try is basically based on user feedback.
Now let's understand the market development. So can you tell us a little bit about the history of social discovery apps, and also in terms of user sizes, market sizes, and maybe even try to segment it a little bit?
Yeah, I think it's important to make a distinction between social discovery and dating, because most dating apps call themselves social discovery apps. For looking at the dating market as one of the strong segments in meeting new people, of course, it was a big shift from very annoying and old-fashioned websites 2 to 3 years ago, shifting to mobile. Just that the location-based information became apparent on their smartphones. People were used that they would have a smartphone 24/7, and the claim to see who is around me. So the location, of course, is very important if you want to meet somebody or just meet somebody for a coffee. So that basically was a trigger to shift a lot of people from the very serious 70-page questionnaire, €50 a month, web dating portals into the more casual, actually very similar to what happened in gaming as well. So the gaming browser games basically were very stiff, and then through the mobile device, having it on you 24/7, adding values from the mobile platform, then basically moved it into mainstream and casual, which is the same for dating. But this is not our focus, so we focus a lot on social discovery. And social discovery, there are only a handful of true apps who tried to tackle what we are doing, so really add significant value to your real life, not replacing your real life or not replacing what you do in your life, but just making it better and making it more fun to meet new people. Sona was one, but they failed. Highlight is one, but they've been struggling. So all of these apps have been founded 4, 5, 6 years ago. But back then you didn't have the data, you need to add a unique user experience. So there are more concepts coming out now to really foster context-based information, context-based interaction between people in a certain location. Just because now, and especially with iOS 8, you'll have a lot of location and context data about the user that really add value to what's happening in your real life. So market sizes for so again, for the first part, for dating, growing heavily, 2 digits depending on the country and the platform, but the shift is still very strong, especially with apps like Tinder making it very mainstream, especially for people who were skeptical before, just giving it a try. There's a big hype, it's ebbing down a bit now, but at least it like paved the way for more people, for more apps to come into this niche and like pick up where Tinder left off, which is interesting. Social discovery. In Germany, it's it's a new topic. Like the word itself or the claim itself is still new, and most people still link it to dating. In other countries, which are a bit the US, for example, like apps like Highlight or Sona already had a lot of tech coverage. It's very innovative, very interesting concepts, and it's picking up as well. So basically, both segments grow on a 2 digits level per year, and especially in the very young emerging markets, Eastern Europe, Brazil, Asia, China, India, this is crazy, Southeast Asia, that's really a lot.
Okay. So we always try to teach people a little bit of what they shouldn't do when they start a company and what they should do. What have been your major learnings over the last year and also from the time that you worked on at Hitfox, for example?
Well, I think Hitfox was an incredible time, and I have even no idea right now how much I learned. So whenever you if you're new, if you haven't set up your own company yet, and really pays off to work with super smart founders for a year or for 2 years. The amount of lessons you learn is just incredible. So basically 2 years ago I had the decision, okay, do I set up my own company now and just learn everything myself, or do I still work with an incubator with very smart founders? Some people prefer the way to set up their own company, but for me, I'm very happy that I did the other way and learned from great people. The Hitfox is a very rapid execution-driven company, so very smart. You set a business model, you set a concept, and you just go out and execute. And the part to go out and get market feedback is super important. You're always tempted as a founder to lock yourself in, because you've read so much, you've talked so much, you have so many ideas, to lock yourself in a meeting room, scribble all the walls, and then basically come out with a golden bullet where you think this is the best concept. But as soon as you talk to the first 5 people, you feel okay, it doesn't make sense. The users don't want it. It's perfect in my head, but it doesn't make sense on paper or like in life at all. So this is going out part and starting to execute is very important, and then build a team who has this passion for startups and entrepreneurship, who can then also iterate and basically navigate the challenges along the way. But the going out part and really focusing on the execution is very important, and that focus, I think, is something that you will learn to understand, okay, what's really important, what is important right now in the step, from experienced founders who've just been there, set up 1 or 2 companies, ideally also failed 1 or 2, so they know how not to do it. That was a great experience at Hitfox, specifically at Mbrace. We were all new to build our own B2C apps, and we helped to market the most successful B2C apps before, but then building your own is a completely different story. Very interesting, very challenging, and we decided so the first concept we also did basically top down, so we locked ourselves in, we made the concept, and okay, this is the app we're going to go live with. It worked good and great, but it didn't go crazy, because we always, okay, it works for a lot of people, but not for all of them. So that's why now we switched also like more to a bottom up, so lean UX, lean startup methodology that we basically derive from hypothesis that we test every week. So we believe that this feature in the app would lead to this and this outcome, and only if it's answered by yes for all the people we want to answer yes, and it's done in the app. So it's a different approach. It takes a bit longer, but you basically make sure that all of the team is constantly testing on the street, talking to people, to our target group, and getting feedback. And there was, I think, especially where you need a close product market fit and the environment where it has to be the best fit is definitely B2C apps. The competition is so dense. And if you look at yourself on your smartphone, you probably have 80, 90 apps installed, but you really only use 10. One of these 10, already 5 are used by Instagram, WhatsApp, Facebook, maybe Twitter, and maybe 2 more. So basically, in the end, you only compete for 5 or 6 spots on the smartphones against all mobile games, all productivity apps, all other social discovery apps, all media apps, all news apps. It's a very fierce competition. So you don't only compete against your close competitors who also do what you do, but you also compete against all other companies who want to get on that home screen. And that's why the market fit needs to be perfect in top notch. So
okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.